So, I am back home. Spring break 2013. Woo! And since I'm a giant nerd, I will be spending most of spring break reading. Speaking of which, a friend of mine and I, the other day, we came up with a specific genre for Lord of the Rings and all of J.R.R. Tolkien's work. Left-brained fantasy. But the book I'm going to be reviewing today is more of the right-brained dreamscape kind. It doesn't go into too much detail, leaves a lot up to the imagination. And that book is called A Monster Calls. And it is another book, like so many of the books that I review, that have illustrations. It's very kind of Neil Gaiman-esque, actually. Like if you could see the front cover, very creepy, very scary stories to tell in the dark. And there are illustrations throughout all of the novel. I should note that this novel is by an author named Patrick Ness, and it's inspired by an idea by another writer named Siobhan Dowd. I may be pronouncing that wrong, but that's how it is spelled. You can't really see that, can you? And basically what happened was the woman who had this idea unfortunately passed away. So the rights to the concept were left to Patrick Ness, who took it upon himself to write this basic plot idea, but use his own creative ideas to make it a completely new and original story. Also, the illustrations are by Jim Kay. That's K-A-Y. I really liked this. It's very fable-like. It's very, it's not a super long, epic, high fantasy or anything like that. It's a simple story about a boy named Connor who is in a very real situation that threatens his family. In the story, he's kind of a lonely boy who lives just with his mother, and his mother has terminal cancer, and yet she fills him with these hopes that she will survive, even though she has lost all her hair from the chemo, and every time they try new, medicine, they keep having to try something else. He's completely in denial that the worst could happen. And therein lies the actual conflict of the story. Much like the film Pan's Labyrinth, this is a fantasy story that deals mainly with a very realistic, down-to-earth, gritty problem that the fantasy conflict only parallels. It's like in Pan's Labyrinth how there's a war background and a child who uses dreams and fantasies to escape as a way of escapism. In this story, Connor has a lot of dreams, and one in particular that he isn't ready to completely face. While he's dealing with these things with his mother and his grandmother, who he doesn't get along with, who comes over to help with the situation, and his distant father, who, they're in the UK in this story, and his father has fled to America and has started a whole new family, so, Connor's kind of resentful of that. And Connor is also dealing with problems at school, like he's being bullied by this group of bullies who he just lets push him around because he wants to see justice from those in charge who witness it. Even when he fights back, he's not seeing justice in his own life because everybody's taking pity on him because of the situation with his mother. He even pushes away his closest friend, who's this girl named Lily, who grew up with him, because she's too close to his situation. As an escape from all these things, Connor has these nightly meetings with this monster, and specifically a yew tree, which has its own mythology to it. The yew tree becomes a monster at 12:07 every midnight. It walks down from the hill from his house to the country home where he resides and calls Connor out of the house by any means necessary. And Connor goes outside, and the monster tells him a story. The monster's stories are fables, much like the whole situation with the monster is to the whole story. I'm not going to go into detail about any of the stories, but it's basically 3 little fairy tales within the main plot of the book. And then the 4th story is a story that Connor must tell the monster. And this novel also reminded me a lot, and it reminds a lot of people, I think, of A Christmas Carol, because of, I mean, there's only one monster, but three sort of paradigms of it. Illustration-wise, it reminded me of like Neil Gaiman's Coraline. Like this one in particular, there's the monster trying to pull Connor out of the house. What I like about these illustrations is you never get a clear picture of any of the human characters. Like right there is a good example of, you know, a white silhouette with the monster. This is a powerful young adult book, I would say. It provides escapism. The author and the illustrator did a great job of incorporating that whole feel into how you feel when you're reading it, or how I felt at least. I know that a lot of my videos are book reviews lately, but I guess I'm turning into a regular booktuber, as they call it. And quite frankly, I have no problem with that.